and welcome back to another episode of Protein Ramblings. And yes, that's it. We're finalized on the name. The rebranding is done. We're in place. I've done the website. Everything is now Protein Rambling. So, hey, we're here. We're back again this time, joined by We've Got a Bungle.
Hello. How many times since you changed the name did you call it Rambling Stoners? No, Rambling Vapors. No, Protein Vapors.
Bring your mic down, Bung. Bring your mic down, Bung. You're peaking like a
no.
You're peaking like a motherfucker.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better. Okay, cool. Yes, so we're joined by Bungle, as I was saying once again, and we are also joined by our good friend Benny Boy.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Yes, so we're here, and of course, Naomi, I should not forget.
The silent, invisible partner.
The silent majority.
The silent
minority.
So yeah, we're here this week. We're going to do a bit of a follow-up on the last episode we did with Benny, where we talked about mental health, particularly in talk about what we've all been doing to keep ourselves sane during this kind of really unprecedented times in our lives, I guess. You know, like, I don't think any of us thought... pretty much the same. I don't think any of us thought that we'd be living through a global pandemic of the scale that we are. I think, to be honest, like there was a lot of complacency in regards to that from the West, because, you know, we got through SARS, we got through MERS without really ever being touched by it.
It's not even that. I think for so long at the start of last year, it was just, hey, look, it's no worse than the flu. If you're that worried about it, then get your flu vaccine. You know, that's the thing to worry about. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, no, actually, we need to lock down society. And that switch seemed to happen pretty quickly, at least in the Netherlands.
Yeah, it happened very slowly here in the UK, courtesy of our wonderful Tory government.
They did everything they could to not do it.
Yeah.
Because the economy.
The economy.
Basically. Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's an interesting. Tory government prioritizing the economy over actual human life.
Oh, what a shock.
I mean,
I've never heard of them doing that before.
Who would have guessed? I mean, the approach wasn't totally different here. So we have like a centre-right coalition government, and they decided that the way to go was an intelligent lockdown. So it's like, you know, we trust that people are sensible and that we can just advise you to do things and you'll do them because you're sensible. And that way we can keep the economy strong and still save lives. And it's not the same as it is in the UK, but I think it's also provably not been the best approach.
Yeah, definitely not. But before we get into the talk about the times, the mentals, and all that bejazzleness, the mentals, it's all right. I count myself among them.
You are a mental.
Yeah, I am a mental. No, I'm going to do a bit of a throwback session, to the vaping days. Just what we've been vaping. Because not been with Bungle for a while, so it might be some news there. And also because I just picked up a fucking fantastic new little vape pod, which I highly recommend. So I picked up the Voopoo V-Through pod. My God, if you're thinking about switching from smoking to vaping, this is the absolute dream. It's fucking fantastic. It's like $30. It's got amazing flavor, amazing draw. I'm blown away by it. I really am. I've been vaping it constantly since it arrived yesterday. I also picked up the Caliburn G by Uwell, which is another pod system, which again is also fantastic. Not as good as the V-Through, mainly because its battery life isn't as long, but in terms of flavor and vapor production, really, really nice, and a really good pod kit to get people started. Other than that, the only other new things that I picked up were the Dot Mod MTL tank, which is really, really good, but very expensive for what it is. It's like $45-50 for an MTL RTA. But if you're looking for a really good RTA with great flavor that's mouthed along, definitely recommend. Anything new on your side, Bung?
Yeah, I think last time I was here, I just got the Orion little pod system.
Yes.
That's been going good. I found some of the coils don't fit very well, and I'm actually getting juice dripping through out of the bottom. Oh, because juice is sort of doing some funky shit through it. But admittedly, I don't use it very frequently, so it's sitting there with juice sitting in it for a while. So it's probably my own fault. But I've gone back to my custard after taking a short break with Pud's vanilla custard.
Nice.
And also one I discovered recently, which long-time listeners, or should I say long-time sufferers, will remember back in the day, one of my favourite juices was Nick's Blissful Brews Smoked Custard Plus. Habana do a creamy vanilla tobacco.
Oh.
And it is as close as I have found to smoked custard. It's more on the tobacco than the smoked custard was. It's like a nice, smooth Cuban cigar with a drizzle of vanilla in it. Oh, it's actually really nice. I'm using that on my profile RDA.
Nice.
With a lovely bit of mesh, so getting full flavour from it.
Cool.
I had the .mod single core last time I was here, which is still wrapping on my old school Luna. Absolutely love that. And that's using just jams, raspberry jam and scone. Again, long-time sufferers will know that is one of my go-to juices. But currently with the custard, new device, Ether RTA.
Nice.
Single core thing from Suicide Mods and Vaping Bogan.
Okay, yeah.
It is a restrictive direct lung or with inputs and airflow, a mouth-to-lung device.
Oh, cool. I do like it when you have that option.
Yeah, so it's got a little insert you can stick in the airflow underneath the coil. And then the airflow selection is insane. Grim Green recently did a build video, I think, on it, one of his live streams.
Yeah, it was actually a Grim Green video I was watching last night where he reviewed pod mods, and I already had the Caliburn, and he basically reviewed the ranked, and the V3 came top, and I was like, I'd been umming and ahhing on it. I was like, fuck it, bye. Got a new juice with it as well, which I've got in there at the moment, which is really nice. Zapp's Snow Pear, 20 milligram nicotine salt. Really, really nice. Really nice. So yeah, that is what we've been vaping. Some recommendations for anyone out there looking to transition from vaping to smoking. The other way around. The other way around. Oh God, the other way around. don't transition from vaping to smoking.
I put my vape down and grabbed a pack of Marlboro Reds.
Cowboy killers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Talking of that though, I did actually clean my car out because I've got a new car. Got rid of the old one. Was cleaning the old one out. I've got a Citroen C4. Sticking French, but my dad's a Citroen mechanic. So,
okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, it makes sense to go for a car that he knows in and out. So when it does eventually do its French
at least
thing,
it's not a 2CB.
No, at least it's not that. Found a pack in there of how was it? The Dunhill Internationals with like 4 cigarettes smoked out of it.
That's old school.
Like, yeah, I was like, oh, Dunhill Internationals. Put them somewhere, but just in case I ever get that thing where I get drunk and go, I want a cigarette. Yeah. And I've got them there.
Nice. So, vaping, smoky talk out the way, coming back to the main topic of at least the first half of this podcast. So, how's everyone's lockdown been going?
I have drunk more alcohol over the past 12 months than I have in the past 5 years. Like normally a bottle of whiskey will last me probably about a year because I'll have a snifter here and there and only drink if I go out. Since lockdown's begun, I have now got probably about 5 or 6 empty bottles of whiskey somewhere in this room because I'm storing them up got friends who make mead at LARP. So I was like, these bottles are actually pretty funky for it, all cork sock. So there we go. I'll save them for them. But yeah, I have got through a lot of booze. I've drunk so much more than I normally would, which is not a good thing. And I am vaping a lot more because I work from the same place I'm sitting right now. I live, work, and play my computer games in the same room.
Yeah.
So there's no more, I'm just going to nip out for a vape break. So I'm sitting here working. Chop.
Yep, completely. What about yourself, Benny? Are you still at Adam Brooks?
I am still working at the hospital, yes. So that is like, I feel quite lucky. When did we record the last one?
It was May last year because it was it was for mental health awareness. Mental health awareness.
Of course. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I just started working there then.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel quite lucky because I have a job where I get to go out of the house every day, so I get some work-life separation. Not a lot of people have the luxury. So I'm quite grateful for that, to be honest, and quite grateful to be kind of helping, during a pandemic.
I can imagine that there must be a good sense of job satisfaction with, especially in the current climate, right? Like,
absolutely.
I've got to ask, is there not like, do you not have like, because I mean, is there not a concern as well, given the virility? Virility, is that the right word? of COVID? Like, do you not have like concerns about when you do go into work? It's like, I know, like, obviously there are a lot of precautions being taken in hospitals, but like, what's your like proximity for exposure kind of thing? What's your like risk factor like?
Well, so I'm not old. I don't have any health conditions. Old in the medical.
Yeah.
I feel quite old sometimes, but no, I'm not in a high risk. I'm not in a high risk group. I'm reasonably healthy.
That's good.
I don't have any genetic factors vulnerable to this thing. From the start, I've been fairly well protected in terms of how the hospital provides protective equipment. Not had a whole lot of formal training. Very quickly, people show you how to use it. So pretty quickly. To be honest, at first, I was like, I remember my first day going in there, having been in lockdown, since March and not really having seen anyone. And going in there for my first day, not really knowing what to expect, sitting in the main reception of Addenbrooke's Hospital and waiting to be collected by you. And the hospital was just full of people walking past, like some of them not even 2 meters apart. And I was like, oh, this is awful. How is this allowed? This is everything we've been told not to do over the past couple of months. And here are people in the hospital just wandering about willy-nilly, talking to each other.
It's really weird to me how quickly I've come to view crowds as just this terrible thing. Like when you watch footage or you watch old movies and you see crowds or documentaries, or even like when we watch clips of wrestling shows from this time last year and they've still got people, I'm like, that's horrific. They're right next to each other. That's disgusting.
Yeah. So that's been less of a, as I say, I got used to that pretty quickly, and that's been less of a problem. And as for kind of the risk factor, that kind of melted away very quickly. I just kind of go in, put a mask on, and get on with it, and I don't really think about it to myself. And actually, the other thing for me, so I've had some recent news on this, but I don't know if I told you about this in the last time we spoke, but I joined one of the vaccine trials.
Yes, you did. You mentioned that, yes. I
joined the Oxford vaccine trial, which is supposed to last a year. Obviously, it's a blind trial, so you don't know which vaccine you're getting.
Yeah.
So the 50% of the trial participants get a control. But because they started rolling the vaccine out to NHS staff in January, they gave us the option to contact them when we were in a position to get a vaccine, find out which one we'd had.
Okay.
So I did that because I was able to. They were at the stage where it was like, right, you can book an appointment. And it came back that I had the Oxford vaccine.
Oh, cool.
In fact, I'd opted in during the trial. They asked people if I wanted to have a booster as well. So I said, stick it to me. So I had 2 doses of the Oxford vaccine, and the advice that came back was basically, you've been vaccinated, you've had a booster, you don't need any more. So don't bother booking a vaccine. So I've actually been protected this whole time.
Wow, that's really great news.
Without knowing, and taken part in the trial. And again, it feels good to be doing a little bit to help people. But actually, my overall mental health, to get back to the app, has been pretty up and down. Because it's still a hefty task to navigate the world in these times that we're living in. These unprecedented times. Everyone, as I'm so fucking sick of hearing on adverts. I've been really up and down. I've missed some work because I've been feeling very anxious or depressed. I've been despite the fact that I've had quite a fulfilling job, I've still been in dark places. At the moment, I'm in a really good spot.
That's good.
Personally, which is great. I feel a lot more, certainly the last few weeks, starting to feel a lot more hopeful, because I've seen lots vaccinated. I've seen, obviously the hospital is, I'm not at liberty to discuss figures, but it's safe to say that the hospital is riddled at the moment.
Yeah, of course.
Can confirm.
So many COVID patients. Yeah, and Ruth works there as well, doesn't she?
Well, yeah, she's on what's termed an amber ward, which is people who've had their swabs awaiting results. She's getting weekly swab tests. I'm guessing you are as well.
Oh yeah, I've had weekly swab tests since I got vaccinated, so June or whatever.
Yeah, The hospitals itself started doing weekly swabs for all staff. She's had her first dose of the Pfizer vaccine.
Oh, that's good.
Which, unlike everyone else we know, she thought, I'm not posting it on social media. I don't need to fucking go, oh, I've had the jab.
Yeah.
It's like, who gives a shit? It's, yeah, I've had it, but I don't need to gloat about it or show everyone how great I am. But yeah, it is insane. Just like numbers wise, it's getting a bit fucking crazy. It's like everyone's going, oh, everything's going down. It's like, yeah, but we're also in the middle of, well, I say middle of winter. It's coming towards the end of winter. We're about to have a nice cold snap here again.
Oh yeah, we're about to get
have a lot of
4 feet of snow or something.
What, 4 inches, I think.
Okay, whatever.
4
Inches, feet, whatever, same difference.
Yeah, so slight discrepancy.
Slight difference, yeah. And a foot is 12 of those inches.
Yes, I know.
Well, now you guys are in Europe, you don't understand imperial anymore, presumably. So
Yeah,
That's true.
We're
Forgotten everything.
No, you say that, but it's really weird because my GP keeps asking me like, "Oh, what's your weight?" And I'm like, "Well, it's about 11 stone." And she's like, "What the fuck is a stone?" I'm like, "It's a big rock thing,
Yeah.
But okay, like talking about health, like, okay. The Dutch have like completely fucked the vaccine rollout and doing it. They've just we're behind every other.
But in fairness, you've got to make everyone try paracetamol and go home for 2 weeks first.
This is if you go to a GP in the Netherlands with any complaint, and I mean any complaint, they will say take 2 paracetamol and go home. They're like, so you know how your GP is supposed to be your access to medical care? The GP in the Netherlands is the gatekeeper of medical care, and you have to fight your way through them.
You have to prove that, you're really dying.
So,
having dark thoughts, take 2 paracetamol, come back in a couple of weeks.
So here's case in point, right? So when we last spoke, Benny, obviously we talked about I was going through DBT for therapy for my BPD. Well, so not long after we spoke, a couple of months later in August, I actually lost my job. But I left my job and I moved to a new job, a much better job. But because I just started the new job, and the time, I didn't have the time to go to therapy, so I ended up cycling out of the therapy without completing the course. However, I did take enough away from it that my, in terms of the mindfulness exercises and things that we discussed last time, a lot of that, generally I've been on a very solid keel since then. One of the big boosts for me was, I can't remember if I'd mentioned it during that episode or if it happened after, but I don't know if I think you both met my friend Desta. So she's now a trained hypnotherapist. And she gave me free hypnotherapy, and oh my God, did it change my fucking life. Honest to God, she gave me a hypnotherapy session and then a recording to listen to for a month. And after that, my sleep improved, my mood improved, everything improved. Obviously there are, not everyone is going to work for hypnotherapy because not everyone is susceptible to that suggestion. It's kind of scary that I am in a way. It's like,
I bet you would never have thought you would be, right?
No,
I think if someone had asked you beforehand, you would have said you were not susceptible.
No, I mean, you say that, but I would have said I don't know because I honestly don't. I'd never experienced it, but now I know I need to stay the fuck away from Darren Brown.
Oh, I mean, that's just.
I think there's a way to make anybody.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
I think it probably helps. It was with somebody you know and trust.
Yeah.
I think establishing trust is a key part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
I think every human brain is vulnerable to being, if not conned, then certainly persuaded into something that they would not. They might outright say they are hardline, cynically against the idea of.
Well, we can discuss that in the second half of the episode when we talk about fucking QAnon. Because that's a really good example. But yeah, so it's, for me, obviously, the starting a new job in the pandemic era has been fucking interesting because obviously I've not met any of my co-workers yet, apart from one, my friend Marina, who turns out she's really into board games. So she's been coming. I've bought a ton of board games off her. Actually, I have now the Dark Souls board game plus most of its expansions. An amazing game called Deep Madness, which is basically Alien meets The Abyss meets The Sphere. And you play a load of investigators in an underwater mining facility that's infested with aliens, and you have to figure out what went wrong, kill the aliens, and escape. And there's loads of different scenarios you can play. It's fucking fantastic. Last night, I bought Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. Played that last night, so I've been doing a lot more board gaming. But I digress. Coming back to so starting the new job, that was really like. In a lot of ways, it was very good because it gave me something really hard to focus on, which, it meant that it gave my days a bit more purpose. So it made the transition for like the coping with the not doing anything different every day a little bit easier because something was different, even though it was still going to work and something. The context of the work and the subject of the work was very different. So that was really, really good. And also the other big thing that happened, which I mentioned before on the show, was me and Naomi, we bought our first house. And so we moved during a pandemic as well, which was interesting. We opted for let's pay people to do everything and not have to worry about it approach.
Which I definitely recommend if you can do it.
Yeah, don't move yourself, guys. Like pay and remove. I'm so glad we did because they had to bring the sofa through the front room window. They had to hike it up and bring it through the window. They tried to bring it up the stairs. They were like, "Yeah, ain't happening." So, So in that sense, I've actually had a fairly positive lockdown. It's only been in the recent few months for me where I some of it's SAD kicking in with the winter months, but also we've. Here in the Netherlands, we've had we've gone into increasingly severe lockdowns. Currently, we have a curfew between, is it 8?
It's 9 o'clock and 4:30.
9 p.m. till 4:30 a.m. But the big kicker that's really hit me hard is actually restaurant closures. And it sounds so fucking bougie. It's like I can't go to my fine dining restaurants, but it's amazing how much of a thing that was, like just being able to go out for a bite to eat, how much of a importance that was to the day to day. And those are the things that I, like myself, I've been missing. And very much like Bungle, my alcohol consumption is a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got to have things to look forward to, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting to see interesting and kind of horrifying to see how people react when they don't, normally, me and Tony would go on holiday every winter because we hate.
Yeah.
Because it's shit, dark, and there's nothing to look forward to, and there's no warmth. So we will go somewhere for warmth, like the Canary Islands or, somewhere like that where it's reasonably warm. But obviously we haven't had that, so that's been really tough, especially for her, I think. She really hangs her hopes having nice holidays.
I think you need to adjust your auto-tune sensitivity a bit, Benny. You're cutting out on
No, I'm cutting out, am I?
Just a little bit on a couple of words. Some live production on the fly mixing here.
Yeah, very nice.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. It's all part of the flavor of the show.
I've cranked myself up slightly.
As long as you're actually recording.
Yeah, I think it's more just the sensitivity, like the auto cut thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it just needs to adjusting slightly. But anyway, like yourselves, travel has become a big thing for me and Naomi because obviously that was the whole thing. We were in Japan when COVID broke out. Basically, like we were there at end of January, like until the end of January.
Oh yeah, of course you were.
And we both got stupidly sick out there, which it turns out was COVID. And just no one knew what, because obviously we went to 2 massive wrestling events with like. What was it? 40,000 plus, 40 to 50,000 people there each night from all over the world.
Yeah, because you were already sick by that point, weren't you?
Yeah, I was
like, because I remember us having this conversation where you were like, "Oh, well, you'll probably get it as well," and I was like, "Look, if I'm not already sick, I'm probably not going to get sick." And then like 10 days later, I got really sick. And then we got home and started learning more about COVID and we're like, incubation period, 7 to 14. I was like, okay.
And then I had to go to my GP because I was having some like chest pains and stuff, and I hadn't I've got a bit of lung damage left over from it because I was coughing like a bad man, I was coughing like fucking Disco Kenny after 90 cigarettes, you know.
The cough tick, I was coughing for it. Like, in retrospect, we came home, I had one day off, and then I went back into the office still with the cough. Like, it's not like I was hacking all over people and stuff, but I look back now and I'm like, oh no, I could have taken COVID to work. I'll never know.
But I had another scare. Was it only about 2 weeks ago? So I had to go get tested because I was like, turns out it was just a bit of a chest infection. But I was coughing a lot. Couldn't climb upstairs. Getting a test here is a little bit of a pain in the ass because you can't if you don't drive. It's difficult because the test center they're like you can't take public transport, you can't take a taxi, and you can't obviously. If you can't drive, you got. And the closest they kept saying, okay, you can go to this one or this one, and both of them are like 2.5 hours walk away. I'm like, motherfucker, I can't even walk upstairs.
Yeah, that's not good, is it?
Yeah.
Here they are doing some mail testing, so basically they'll send you the pack, you swab at home, and you post it back.
Yeah, one of my friends, her company, are doing rapid tests every Sunday night, so people know whether they can come in on the Monday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the piss stick test, isn't it? I think the rapid one.
I can't remember what she said it was, but yeah.
No, there's a urine test as well, which I think you're using for gigs in the future. It's like, well, before you go into the gig, you have to pee in this cup and we dipstick it.
So, I mean, it could be worse. Have you seen they're doing anal swabs in China?
Yeah. I mean, depends what you're in.
You want to come in? Bend over.
Depends what you're into, right? If that was a BDSM club, I'm sure everyone would bend over quite happily.
Yeah. Well,
there's probably some people who discover they like something more that they never knew about. Oh, actually,
I would like it to be a choice, though. I would like someone to say, "Do you want the anal swab or the whatever it is, the oral swab?" I would not like for them to.
You don't want them to mix it up either.
No ass to mouth.
Like, I'm sorry, that was a typo. You're definitely having the anal swab.
So I got.
No, my name's Alan. My name's Alan.
I got told by the vaccine trial that if I did ever test positive, which I haven't so far, they take blood from me every couple of months anyway. But they told me that if I do test positive, they're going to take. They want a stool sample. So, yeah.
Awesome.
That's the
IBS
trial years ago. Yeah, stool samples
absolutely.
It's
no one wants to touch their own shit. There's a reason we have toilets.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Also, I discovered because I did an IBS trial a few years ago, and they gave me these things that basically, you just attach this over the top of your toilet seat, shit into it, then you can scoop your poo without having to get in the water. Oh, human shit stinks so bad.
Yeah, it does.
It's like when it goes in the water, you're like, it smells a bit bad, but when it's not in water and just there in the open, you're like.
Well, I mean, there's no reason
you'll be pleased
from the body.
You'll be pleased to know, Bung, our new house does not have the display tray in the toilet and the shelf.
We have normal toilets.
That's like a Northern Continental Europe thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a 50-50 thing in the Netherlands.
I knew it was kind of a German thing. But
I must inspect my poo before I flush it.
So I need to know if my poo is like regular or if I need to go to the doctor. Offend all my German
need your time to pay your respects before you say goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it is really impressive to turn around and go, shit, that came out of me.
It's never impressive. It's never impressive.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing with my IBS trial is like normally if you're asking for a stool sample, they want like 1-2 scoops. I had to fill a sample pot with shit. So I'm sitting there going just like using the tiny little scoop spoon that comes inside the lid, having to just shove this stuff inside this pot.
Did you consider just using a cat tray?
It was tempting, but then I thought, I might get if I use litter tray, then I might get some litter in it, and that might skew their results.
Oh, it's worse than we thought. Your problem is you're eating cat litter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this. This is a show about
sand and your poo.
Yeah.
So I hope you like the talk about mental health and shit.
Yeah.
No, my shit is literally directly linked to my mental health. It's my IBS is major stress trigger. It's like if I get stressed out, I get mental.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole conversation around the current kind of scientific developments, which they're just really getting started on by the sounds of it, around gut health and mental health is just absolutely fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's very much in its infancy, but it seems like, your gut bacteria can really affect your tendency towards certain mental illnesses and all other kinds of things.
I can completely attest to that, because obviously I still suffer with an eating disorder, and that completely fucks up your gut biome. And there are significant impacts on that, because like one of the key impacts is like fatigue, which then has a further knock-on effect on your overall mental health as well. So it's I've been taking a lot of I'll come into this a bit, but I've been taking some supplements, some non-traditional supplements recently, both me and Naomi, and oh my God, yes.
Hold on, one second. Did you get them from Infowars.com?
No.
Okay, just checking.
These people just make you redder and angrier.
Actually, while I'm talking about it, I might as well go into it. So there's a couple of things. Obviously, I've been using CBD fairly regularly. And once again, I should mention this show this week is brought to you by the wonderful people over at easypeasycbd.co.uk. You can check them out for all your CBD needs. They have great range of crumbles, vape juices, oils. All their lab reports are available there, and they do a wealth of different profiles, from CBD isolates to broad spectrum, full spectrum, flow form, and even a CBG focus. And if you head over there right now and use the code RAMBLING, you will get 40% off your order as well. So do go check them out. CBD has been a real beneficial thing for me during this lockdown as well. It's helped me a lot with my sleeping, especially using some of the broad spectrum crumbles, which you effectively use like in a dab rig, or you can eat them, not advised, but that's what I do sometimes. And also been using the vape oils and the flow form. So flow form's a really interesting profile, is that it has more of the other cannabinoids than any other of the CBD variants. The only thing to bear in mind with that is that it's can contain up to about 2% THC, not enough to actually cause any psychoactive effects, but it can show up in a drug test for THC. So that's one thing to bear in mind. But so there's been that, and both me and Naomi have been using, we've been microdosing psilocybin.
Oh.
So there's a fantastic company called Microdose Pro here in the Netherlands, and they sell pre-measured blister packs of psilocybin truffles, because they are legal here in the Netherlands, and it's measured out each blister, each like dose is just 1 gram, and it's you've been using it like
I don't think I'm using it as often as you, but on days where I'm just like, okay, I need to get shit done, I need to stay focused, they're great. It is like somebody comes and cable tidies my brain, but because like focus, I don't know if it's a lockdown thing or it's just a me thing. Focus and staying on track has been a big problem. And sometimes I'll kind of look at my workload in the morning and be like, I don't know where to start, so I do nothing, which obviously is not great. And they've been really good for stuff like that. Like I'm on track. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to get it done.
You just feel kind of locked in and focused, do you? Or...
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think it's. I wouldn't say I feel physically different. It's definitely a mental thing. Whereas instead of looking at my to-do list or my email inbox and just kind of being a little bit overwhelmed and like, I don't want to do any of this. I don't want to even start doing it. It's much easier to just be like, okay, do one thing, do the next thing, do the next thing. And before I know it, I've done everything I need to do. And it makes me a lot less anxious. And
for myself as well, like in terms of mood, it's definitely, because obviously there is a serotonin release that comes with this as well. So but not like a high serotonin release, just a small trickle that it definitely improves mood. It's far better for me personally alternative than something like an SSRI. In that I have no negative effects whatsoever. Zero, zilch, nada. It's but mornings when I wake up and it's grim outside and gloomy and my mood is in the toilet, I'll wake up, I'll take a dose as I get up with my morning coffee, and about half an hour later I don't feel so bad about the day anymore, and I'm just ready and focused. There is no there's no like impairment of thought. There's no, in fact, if anything, there's clarity of thought. It's quite the opposite. It's been quite a revelation. Obviously, I've been a psychonaut for some time of my life. So I'm no stranger to hallucinogenics, but I've typically used them in more of a heavy-handed approach of, recreational or with the object of, like with DMT, really blow your mind open kind of approach. Whereas it's definitely an avenue that needs to be done, a lot more research done into it. There is currently a study being done in, I think it's either Oxford or Cambridge. It's in the UK, where because the legality of it, the way they're getting around it is, it's not strictly a clinical study, but it's also not just a free study either. What they're doing is this professor, I will put a link to the thing in the show notes where you can find out more about it, because I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but the ultimate outline of it is the professor running the study, he is working with all the participants who are using their own products, their own substances that they've obtained through whatever means they can obtain them through. And then they are all reporting on clinical studies. So then they're basically packaging it all up, mixing it in between placebos and real ones, and just mixing it all up, and then taking days where they're taking the placebo and stuff like that and marking it all down. So it's kind of trying to put some of the clinical elements into the study. I'm actually going to put the video for it on there's a YouTube video for it I was watching the other day. I'm going to put that video on the Sciencey Stuff page of our website. So if anyone wants to go and check it out, they can check it out at proteinramblings.com/Sciencey Stuff. So yeah, that's been a real big benefit to us. That's been one of my big things that's helped with the lockdown, because like with Naomi saying, I don't know about you guys. I mean, you probably know this a bit more than maybe Ben, who's going to work on focusing day to day when you're just in that same space all day.
Well, because like I say, I'm sitting in my makeshift office at home, which is basically our spare storage room, which at some point I'm actually going to sort this out so I can have a better layout. I'll have it so my desk is, rather than by the window behind, which is obviously horrible glare, so I'm currently using a blanket to block out the window because the curtains are fucked. Actually have that, so that's behind my monitors, so I'm getting light coming in the mornings especially. But yeah, it's one of the things, like getting up in the morning, I wake up, have a cup of coffee, come into this room and sit here till about, but if Ruth's at work, I basically will pop downstairs, sort the dog out, then come back in here, and then we'll be in here till like 6:30, 7, depending if I'm or whatnot. Or on days when she isn't at work, I'll be coming down at lunchtime, spending an hour away from here, then coming back in here until 4 at least, depending on how much work I have to do.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's very repetitive. It's a little bit mind numbing. One thing I've been doing a lot recently is using lo-fi hip hop beats just to focus my mind.
That's my music of choice for work.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm working, rather than I used to work with I'd have listened to podcasts when I was in the office. So I'd have podcasts going, or I'd have like music I love, like music I grew up with, like old school punk, old school jazz, all sorts of shit just going on. And I found sitting at home, it's like great having that, but then I'd drift off and just sit there listening to the music. It's like, I know. I then discovered obviously there's the several different live streaming channels on YouTube for it. The two I tend to use the most are it's Chill Hop, which is the one with the raccoon as their and there's it's Chilled Cow.
I don't know that one.
Chilled Cow is one. The Chill Hop one is got a very jazz feel to it. The Crazy Cow is much more very soft and chill. So depending on what I'm doing, I'll go between the two of those.
I think the one I like at the moment, I think it's just called like Late Night Cafe or something like that. I'll have to look it up because you can put it in the show notes if people are interested. But yeah, it's just nice background music. It's not obtrusive.
Yeah, there's very especially I know I've heard some lyrics on the Chilled Hop one. The Chilled Cow there's no lyrics whatsoever. It is just the backing music, and it is just nice to have that there.
Yeah,
to keep my brain away from everything that's going on around me, and just I can zone in on what I'm doing. I can't remember the last time I was actually on the podcast, whether that was before or after lockdown.
God, I can't remember. I think it was before, because the last one with you on, I remember, was it was called World on Fire. So I think it was just as everything was booked. Yeah.
Man, I wonder what could have been
In the
happening.
US election. So yeah, that was pre-November.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a while.
So just before lockdown, I got promotion at work. I'm now a sysadmin rather than just IT help desk support. So I'm now doing a lot more stuff where I'm not dealing with people every day. I'm
golf clap.
Can't hear it. So.
Okay. There was a golf clap.
Nero was applauding.
Yes.
You can't hear it, but he was.
I was. Yes.
Sincerely.
And I was applauding too in my mind.
Yeah. Thanks. They don't pay. I can't use applause to pay for share Tesco.
Don't I know it, Bungle?
I miss Tesco's.
When they started doing the NHS clap on a Thursday night. It's clap to show your appreciation for the NHS. It's like, how about you just pay them a fucking wage?
Yeah, that would be better.
How about vote for parties that will sort this shit out?
Yeah.
Destroy the NHS, trying to make it a private organisation. Well, why are they losing money? Because it's a not-for-profit organisation. So it's a health service. Sorry, I'm rambling on now.
No, I mean, it's still protein ramblings. So Benny, what about yourself? Like, you mentioned that you've been going through some ups and down periods. What have you been doing to help keep yourself sane during the lockdown? I mean, obviously, I think all three of us benefit from having partners, so we're not by ourselves, which is a massive boon. But
I also benefit from having a partner.
Four of us. Sorry, yes. Well, okay.
Naomi doesn't benefit from having her partner.
Well, I mean, it's debatable.
That's another show.
It's debatable.
I think Nero was just having a self-esteem crisis then.
Yeah. No, we're just one now. We are just one person, that's all.
Just one.
We are okay. We will assimilate resistance.
Oh, no. Oh, not this again. So what have I been doing? Well, I don't know. I go through phases of doing really well and then doing really badly, because that's what I'm like. And I've been trying for years to find ways to even it out. But obviously, I still do counselling weekly, which helps kind of tease out what's actually going on in my head. Because I like many people, certainly many men of my generation, am deeply emotionally repressed. Less so than the previous generation, but
Amen.
In terms of one thing I've kind of discovered is that I largely treat emotions as an inconvenience to be ignored as much as possible, which also, as it turns out, is not good for long-term mental health.
No.
So I tend to let them build up over weeks, because I start feeling good again, and then I get complacent, and then I just let shit build up, and then I sort of collapse again, and then I'm back and forth. At the moment, as I said, I'm feeling pretty good. In terms of what I've been doing, well, again, I have to go back and say my job helps a lot, because I'm a porter in a hospital, which means I walk on average about 20,000 steps a day. And exercise, I cannot overstate how important exercise is for me to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And actually, as boring as it sounds, extended periods of sobriety are actually really good for me.
No,
so
I can understand that.
At the moment, I am down to 1 or 2 alcoholic drinks a week. So I'll have a drink on a Friday night at the moment. I'm also on a diet because I'm the heaviest I've ever been. So I also have to admit to myself that I self-medicate with food.
Completely.
And I think a lot of people have turned to food or alcohol or both in the past year, just to have something to look forward to. You can't go out. What can you do? You can buy in food, and
you can order a pizza.
Yeah, exactly. You can have
any other substances you can get hold of, and
you should see talking about other substances. You should see my drawer.
Your snack drawer.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean my snack drawer. I meant my snack air quotes drawer.
like the back of the car in Fear and Loathing.
So I mean, like yourself though, I like, you know, as I was saying, like I showed you my liquor cabinet. I have a liquor cabinet, for fuck's sake. But I will attest that when we first moved in here, obviously there was so much going on getting the house ready and things. I went through like probably a few months of just nothing, like not really drinking, nothing really at all. None of my recreational habits. And I definitely noticed a benefit from that. I still I like when I've got this liquor cabinet and everything. I have probably maybe a drink every other day. About right, do you reckon?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. And then it's not like heavy. I'll have a couple of glasses of whiskey, a gin and tonic. Like I've got 6 or so bottles of whiskey at the whiskey at the moment, and I've got a couple of bottles of gin. I've got some Kahlua. I've got some rum. I've got Di Serrano do a cream liqueur now, like Bailey's, but Di Serrano. It's fucking lovely. We've got some salt.
That's not my jam at all, but it sounds like you love it. So
also been getting some watermelon liqueur and making it's like 14%, so it's barely alcoholic. He says
is that Midori?
No, because Midori's the cantaloupe melon or honeydew melon.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
This is a Dutch watermelon liqueur. It's really good. That with some fresh blood orange juice is fucking lovely.
See, I almost wish that I was someone who could drink for the comfort value. The comfort factor.
You just fall asleep.
I don't fall asleep. Also, I don't like alcohol enough. But like, I remember like after my dad died, thinking like, God, it'd be really good if I could just get fucking obliterated. That would be really nice. And I had like a shot of vodka and was like, this is horrible. It's not helping. So like the alcohol for self-medication doesn't work for me. And I don't do drugs. So I'm just like, I'm going to have to eat. So yeah, like Benny, I'm like, I'm the biggest I've been for years. And most of the time I'm like, well, fuck it. It's a pandemic. Who cares? If this is the worst thing that happens is that I'm a bit bigger, fuck it. And then some days I'm like, oh no, I've eaten the world.
Yeah, I'm enormous.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that way. I can feel and see how heavy I am at the moment. And it's really, because I've been like 10 years ago, I was 3.5 stone lighter. So like, what's that? Like 20 kilos, something lighter than I am now.
I have no idea.
I was probably too thin then, but now I'm definitely, by any measurement, I am at least slightly overweight.
Yeah.
So it's like,
so I have to, in a couple of weeks' time, I have to go for a medical assessment as part of a life insurance application.
They looked at my application and just went, no.
Based on Nero's medical history, they advised him not to try and get life insurance.
Yeah, they're like, we can't insure you.
So, you
are just a corpse.
So because we don't have a set of scales in the house, so I just had to kind of estimate my weight. And I was like, I don't know, I'll just put down a figure. I don't really know what this figure means. And then I got a letter back saying, like, based on your height and weight measurements, we need to see you and assess you before we can continue your application. So... We've got lots to look forward to.
But I will attest to what you were saying as well, Benny, in the exercise walking thing. Because when before lockdown, I'd walk everywhere. Like I used to, I'd make sure I could have got like multiple trams to get home, but I'd always walk the distance of one of them, so I got a good walk in and that. And I, even when I was in the office, I'd be constantly going up and downstairs to different places and stuff. And I was really active all the time. And I really noticed the impact of. I wake up in the morning, I sit in a chair for 20 hours and I go to bed.
Yeah. That's like before lockdown, I was frequently going to the gym at least 2-3 times a week just to do an hour and a half of spin cycling, which if you've ever done spin, it's the ultimate exercise if you hate yourself.
Yeah. It's hard work.
I absolutely fucking loved it. And gyms have been closed here pretty much for the entirety of our lockdown. They had a period where they were open for a little bit between our lockdown periods, and I managed to get back in the gym. I was like, brilliant, yes. And now I'm back to the only exercise I really get at the moment is me and the other half will go for a walk every so often. I mean, she gets her steps in at the hospital. Like she'll be, again, like Benny does, she's getting probably about 13,000 to 15,000 because she's on one ward.
Yeah.
But obviously, I get on average, if I don't go and do a walk after work, I get about 2,000 steps a day.
Yeah, I don't even want to know. Like mine. So today I've had 50. I've I've got Apple Watch. It's 54% of my move goal, which is to burn 4. Oh, see, I used to have my move calorie goal, active calorie goal set at 700 active calories a day, and I smashed it every day. Now I've got it set to 450 and I barely hit it ever. It's just like I'm so stationary. And like you say, the other side of it is finding you do rely on things that you can access to have things to look forward to. We can still have one house guest. So I've used that a couple of times to have a friend over and just get shit faced. The best exercise that I've actually had recently is fucking Beat Saber in VR.
Nice.
I think it was New Year's Eve. We had my friend Danny come over, and basically me, Naomi, and Danny spent the entire evening playing Beat Saber. And yeah, fuck, that's some good damn exercise right there.
Yeah, that's good cardio.
I played that once on Chris's VR.
Yeah.
And my God, that is one hell of a workout.
Yes.
Especially when you get onto some of the extreme levels. I do recall Kimmy to step back from the screen because she kept walking towards the TV.
We were doing the 360 version, so where it's like coming all around you and stuff. And I had to have Danny, because like my display cabinets with all my anime figurines are there, and I had to have like Danny in front of them guarding it. It was good fun. It's good fun though.
It's good fun, but like the harder it gets, the more panicked I am, and then I just completely lose all rhythm, and I'm just flailing madly and. It's very stressful.
Me and Danny have got the slight advantage of being ravers, so we could dance to rave music, so we kind of have that natural rhythm element to it. So it's still though, if you fuck up, you do go into a tailspin of fuck ups. So,
it's like dancing at a rave.
I've only played it once for about an hour, but I thought it was incredible. I also thought there's no way in hell I'm ever going to be good at this, which is weird because. Obviously, I have been
You're a musician.
Sort of. I don't do it that much these days.
But you are a damn fine musician.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't have what I call naturally amazing rhythm. You know, it's something I've had to work at. I don't have supreme natural talent as a musician. I mean, but actually, it's quite weird how, because I remember when Rock Band was a thing. Or Guitar Hero, or both, you know, and everybody was playing that kind of thing. Yeah. And actually, how hard it was to go from playing actual bass guitar or guitar to playing one of those little plastic guitars.
I can imagine it's not the same thing, is it?
No, it's not the same thing. I mean, the rhythm is there, obviously, but the feel is very, very different. And so, if you've got a decent sense of rhythm, you'll work it out. But it's like, it's really strange. And Beat Saber, because I'm quite. You know, I'm playing guitar is you basically just have to move your hands really, and then maybe you dance about a bit if you're on stage. But Beat Saber, you actually have to kind of wave your arms about in rhythm, and I'm actually really uncoordinated in that kind of. I'm quite a choppy person, so I'm sort of like smashing my hands together, or I'm hitting myself in the face, or my VR helmet's nearly falling off because I'm falling forwards, or you know, it's just really. I found it really difficult.
The trick I find with Beat Saber is to actually move your body as little as you need to and focus on wrist movement and not just arm movement. Because if you get that down, and the other trick as well, like so if you go for a down strike, leave your hand in the down position because chances are it's going to be followed by an up strike. So there's a lot of patterns of opposites. So a lot of people will strike and then bring their hand back to a resting position. If you leave it out where it was at the end of the strike, you're normally in a better position to come back for the next motion. That's the rhythm that's the technique.
And that's
I've just not played it enough.
Beat Saber.
Obviously, as you guys can see on the video, like I obviously have now a lot more space for playing VR. So
the little room you had previously with your VR set was like,
no, I really don't.
Bank wall.
I really don't have the space. Like the room I'm in now, which has my computer that would be powerful enough to run VR. I've got a spare bed about 2 feet behind me from where I'm sitting, and I've got a PC downstairs, but there's no way it could run VR. It's like a home theater PC box. One of those little AMD do-it-all chips in it, which is fine for like I can run Hollow Knight on it, which was quite good. I played Hollow Knight in 4K on it.
It's great.
So like 2D games are, oh man, it's ruined a lot of games for me though. Hollow Knight. Like I went to play the new Ori sequel, and I just couldn't because I was like, it's not as good as Hollow Knight.
Okay, so if you love Hollow Knight, you are ready to. That is a primer for Dark Souls, mate. Go play Dark Souls.
I've tried Dark Souls before. Admittedly, it was about 10 years ago, but I don't like. I'm not very good at those.
Neither am I. But I've completed
those games where those games where everybody's like, get good, and I'm like,
ignore that. The trick. So I'm not good at them, but I have completed every single one. I've even completed Sekiro. The only one I've not completed is Bloodborne, but that's because the frame issues on the PS4 give me a headache. So, but the trick with that is you have to quell your gamer rage and frustration, and it's hard. It's really hard. But the thing is, the more you play it, you just naturally get better at it. Because when I first started playing, it took me 4 or 5 attempts to actually get into Dark Souls. But it's so worth putting the time and effort into it, because the world, the lore, everything about the game is such a beautifully crafted masterpiece that it's almost a shame that it is so difficult, because it does put people off playing it, and it is such a fucking rich experience. But I would say that if you got through Hollow Knight, you could get through Dark Souls, because I found Hollow Knight far more challenging at points than Dark Souls was, because the platforming element of it.
It really tested my persistence, I've got to be honest. I still found the boss fights more difficult than the platforming. The boss fights
some
for
of
me
them
there were some that I had to try it so many times. It was just ridiculous.
Same for me with but the thing is, there are some mitigating factors in Dark Souls. For a lot of the boss fights, you can summon in a phantom that will help you, and it does help significantly with the difficulty, because it's someone else that the boss is focusing on. So it helped me get, like, Pontiff Sullivan in Dark Souls 3 is a ludicrously difficult boss fight. I've only managed to beat it solo once. And every other time I've had to summon in someone, because the first time I went up against it, I ran into it, I think no less than 50 times, and died.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, it's got a hell of a run to get back to the boss. So you have to fight your way through a shit ton of crap to get to the boss as well. But yeah, they do have some mechanics in there to make things easier. The thing about Dark Souls is some of its mechanics are not immediately obvious, and you have to do a little bit of research onto how things work. But once you understand some of the underlying mechanics, you can understand how you can adapt your play style to make things easier. And that's one of the beauties of Dark Souls. It's got this wealth of depth to it. But I could literally jizz over Dark Souls for days. So
I can tell.
I mean, the board game's really, really good as well. It's as brutal.
That would probably be more my style, right? Like I as I get older, certainly, I'm less and less I've got less and less, I suppose, I don't know what you call it, like appetite or spare energy even to put into, like, really adrenaline fueled games like that. And Hollow Knight,
that's kind of similar to what you, Nero, was saying the other day, when you were saying, like, every time you have a chance to sit down and play a computer game, you're thinking you'd rather play a board game at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Actually. And so I end up playing games that are a bit more like board games, or are, turn-based, or at least are a bit more of a relaxed pace, and a bit more like walking simulators I've been playing.
Okay.
Like I've played, what's it called? Superliminal?
Okay, yeah.
One? It's like the visual, it's almost like an Escher painting style visual puzzles. It's all about perspective, and you change the size of objects to solve puzzles by changing how you're looking at them, and then you pick something up, and then you look a different way, and then it suddenly becomes further away and much bigger, and then it drops to the floor, and it's like blunk, and then you've got a cube or a platform that's big enough to jump on and jump out of a window, So it's like, it's really, really, I find that stuff a lot more relaxing.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
The high adrenaline stuff is, I have to really, if I start playing a game, it has to really grab me for me to persist with the whole high difficulty thing. And Hollow Knight was one of those games where it was just like, it was the perfect game for me at the right time. And I just really enjoyed learning the lore. And I wanted to get past the bosses and the platforming to get to the next bit of lore. I was desperate to find out more.
That's exactly the Dark Souls thing. Once you get into the lore, it's the lore that drives you to keep trying.
Yeah. But actually, so to tie this back to mental health, tenuously, gamer rage is a thing that I've actually really had a problem with in the past. Like,
Same.
if I'm playing a really difficult game, like, I don't play online FPSs anymore, and haven't for a long time, because, man, nothing makes me angry like that when I get beaten and I don't understand. Either I can tell I wasn't good enough, or I don't even understand why. That's almost worse. And the frustration of it is just incredibly powerful. And actually, like, a lot of, again, going back to like a common cliche about growing up as a man of this generation, a lot of emotions are expressed as anger for me.
Yeah.
And that's how it comes out.
I have to
So
say,
actually,
sorry, Ben, when Nero was first playing Sekiro, it just, to me, as an observer, it seemed like you were having the worst time of your fucking life. I was like, he's not enjoying this. Why is he still doing it?
So the thing about Sekiro versus Dark Souls, so Dark Souls has got the combat system where you can adapt your play style, right? So you can choose to be a heavy tanky kind of build and just sit there and block stuff. You can be a magic user at range. You can be a sword and shield. There was a lot of variant in the play style, so you can find a play style that works for you, and it's one of the things that makes Dark Souls a bit more accessible. Sekiro, there isn't that. Everything is about parrying. If you don't have the reaction timing to parry, you can't complete this fucking game. That's it. If your reaction times are bad and you can't get better at them, you're never going to get through it. And that's why, although the story of Sekiro is really good and really rich, I don't think, like, a lot of people think it's a lot better. And the combat is very good and it's very, very well designed. But there is a hard barrier to entry in that if you don't have the reaction timings, and that could be for a number of reasons, like myself, I have like bad nerve damage in RSI, so that kind of shit over time really hurts. So that's the one negative about Sekiro, is that you are very limited in the scope of play style.
But I think to tie that back to your point, Benny, that kind of gamer rage and that, it just comes out as anger. I think for some men of a certain generation, maybe that is one of the few opportunities where you get to just be like, this is what I'm feeling right now,
Yeah,
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think
we've all rage quit out of certain games before.
Yeah. I think the stigma around expressing emotions other than happiness or anger for men has dissipated a lot, certainly within my lifetime.
Yeah.
But not quick enough that I didn't internalize, keeping within those restrictions when I was young. So for me, like, mental health is quite often a journey of learning to actually have those emotions, not push them away, and feel them, and then react in an appropriate way, and not just bottle them all up in my head.
Like, I was brought up by my mum, and she, like, my mum's like very much like Chris Titus's dad approach to everything was, stop being a wussy. Stop being a wussy. Yeah. Don't be a wussy. Don't be a wussy. Right. Don't be a wussy. So I'm just like, no, like, fucking, I could get shot and I'd be like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'll just walk it off and run it under a cold tap. It's like, must not show damage.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird kind of double-edged swords in society where it's like, it's not okay for men to have feelings that make them look weak or vulnerable. Women can have those feelings, but it means we won't take them seriously because they're silly feelings.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh, she's having a conniption fit.
Yeah.
She's hysterical. Nice to know. She needs to have her womb taken away.
And slapped a lot.
It's nice to know we're probably the last generation to have been told to man up when you were sad.
I hope so. Yeah,
probably not though. Because there's probably some hope. Yeah. I mean, actually, we can talk about this when we come back after the break, which we're going to be having momentarily, because this feeds in a little bit to the that kind of the QAnon Trumpism of, like, that's a very man up mentality as well, right? Although it's a I'll talk about more, but it's a double-edged sword of, like, when the Dems lose, it's like, oh, get over it, man up your feelings. And then when they lose, it's like, oh, our feelings.
You can't be mean to us.
Oh, it's all kinds of projection, isn't it?
Yeah,
isn't it? Just. But speaking of break, we've been going for an hour, so we're going to take a quick break now. Since I've already plugged Easy Peasy CBD, I'll save you guys the shilling during the ad break, and in honor of Benny, you'll hear some Buzzard King during the break.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. We'll be back to talk some politicky, QAnon-y bullshit, which will probably still tie into mental health, because let's face it, those people aren't quite right.
You can't really separate these things.
We'll be back after a quick break. Enjoy the music, and we will speak to you soon.
Don't leave my don't think of all that we have lost. 'Cause after few the may survive, we'll have a higher power on our side, and the bond this cannot be placed on cards.
And welcome back, and we're back in the show, and time to talk. It kind of couples with mental health because these people are deranged. America, not all of them. No,
Yeah, not all
of them. Particularly, so obviously, recently we talked about this a little bit with Natalie and James on our Wrestle Kingdom review, but we had so there's been the election. We have a Democratic president.
You saying we? They?
They. Well, I mean, let's say we, because this shit impacts the world. As much as I wish it didn't. But, so I take it everyone watched the storming of the Capitol and has been following up on the fallout and the subsequent news and so on. What were your immediate thoughts about the storming of the Capitol and the attempted coup and insurrection?
I watched it all live on CNN's news stream. I had 3 news streams running on my PC because the other half was on a night shift, and I was like, well, I can't really get to sleep at the moment. What's on? And then someone posted going, has anyone seen what's going on in the States? I was like, let's end up watching the streams. And I was just like, I thought we were watching was going to be a full-blown coup.
Yeah.
Because they're all fucking armed nutters. I mean, I actually checked up on one of the things I read up on was the carry laws for Washington DC, which is you can open carry a pistol. That is it. You cannot open carry assault weapons. You cannot conceal carry anything. The only thing you can have is an open carry pistol, I believe. Or it might be if you have a concealed carry license for a pistol, you can carry that, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, but they're going to be armed up to the teeth. You're looking at these guys in their fucking boogaloo, fucking gravy seals is my favourite term I've heard in regards to these guys.
I know there are some good ones. I like Al Qaeda. ISIS.
My favourite terms so far have been the ones that Chris Titus has come out with for Trump himself, which have been
Sweet
potato Hitler, tangerine Mussolini. What was the other one?
I can't remember. The one he uses most is sweet potato.
Sweet potato Hitler. And fucking game show host, rodeo clown that wants to fuck his daughter. I love so Chris Titus, comedian, he has a podcast, really good one. I recommend checking out, the Armageddon Update. But no matter what his rant about Trump is, he will always slide in the fact that he wants to fuck his daughter, and it just pleases me so much. What about you? I mean, did you watch it? Did you watch it live, Benny, or how did you?
Oh, no, I was very much at a point where January always sucks for me. I always feel like I have a big dip in my mental health in January, and this year was no exception, really. But that was like a real catalyst for me for just just fuck everything. I think that same day I deactivated my Facebook. I deactivated notifications on WhatsApp. I was like, I don't want to speak to anybody. I don't want to hear anything about this. I'm just done. This is so depressing. I don't know what the fuck
Yeah, I think.
Well, yeah, I went a bit kind of, oh, what's the world coming to? There's no hope, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which seems ridiculous in the light of day when I'm not feeling. But when I was in that moment, I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah, when you're there in that mood, it all feels very real, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I didn't watch it live. Obviously, I saw some of it, and I was looking at it through a lens of, I wasn't feeling particularly objective about the whole thing. But for me, it's like this whole Trump kind of nightmare for the world is like the logical conclusion. I'm definitely a subscriber to the idea that, things like the phrases like post-truth society and people sort of abandoning reality for their own alternative reality that is what they want it to be, and they never have to be challenged by the cold light of day and actual facts. They can live in this bubble of delusion a lot more easily these days.
But I don't think that's new. Yeah. I think we just have more ways to spread it now. I mean, I think if you want to talk about America in particular, because we are, this kind of moral panic is not new to them. In the 70s and 80s, you had the satanic panic, where people genuinely believed daycare centers and primary schools were riddled with satanic cults who were killing babies and molesting children.
D&D.
And D&D. I think the difference now is you have, like I say, better ways to spread that disinformation and create bigger pockets of unreality.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's whole, million strong communities of unreality out there.
Yeah.
Very much so.
I totally agree, and I also agree that lots of people throughout history have not been tethered to realities, which is fair enough.
Mm-hmm. I think as well, like there've been, I'm sure there have been studies into it. It's more anecdotal, it's more journalistic stuff that for certain people, once you remove like Fox News, for example, from their life and you're showing them different news sources, their worldview will change again, and they'll, just because they're getting different information. So I don't know if it's just that we as people are more malleable and susceptible, and we're just thinking, this is on my TV, this is in my phone, it must be true.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, Ben, one thing that I have actually done as well. I mean, I've never been a huge social media consumer outside of Instagram cosplay. And vape on Instagram. But I have turned off all notifications on all my social media now. I only consume it when I want to consume it.
Yeah.
That's why when people message me, I don't respond to them for fucking ages, because I'm like, I didn't see the message, mate. The only piece of social media that I actively engage with on a semi-regular basis is our show's Facebook, and our show is now on Tumblr for those that consume things through Tumblr, because
the porn went.
So
it's been refined down to a more niche audience, you might say, Bungle.
Yeah,
there's no porn on it anymore.
But in terms of the social media thing, obviously that's what gave rise to QAnon, which, I mean, as an objective outsider looking in at QAnon and the whole conspiracy theory behind what people who believe QAnon theories believe, is fucking mind-boggling to me that you could actually. It's like, I mean, it is very, in a lot of ways, very, very similar to the satanic panic, like you were saying, Naomi.
Yeah, it's a lot of the same tropes, definitely.
And it's just that, like, I just don't understand. Obviously, I think there's a certain amount of, education plays a lot of factor into this. But I linking this back to the first half of the show. I do believe that there is a mental health aspect to these things as well, because I think, if you are someone who is suffering from a mental health issue that's potentially causing you to have a lot of trouble interacting with the outside world at large, it can make you a lot more susceptible to this kind of, it's not that niche, because fucking 50 odd a million Americans is not niche, but it can make you more susceptible to this kind of like, oh, we're all in it together mentality.
I think that's the big thing about it. It's similar to the way a lot of cults operate, in that, like, if you're someone who is for whatever reason, you feel out of place in the world, things are changing in a way you don't like or understand, and somebody says to you, look, it's not your fault, it's not you, I can tell you something that is going to make you feel better about this. And I think once you start to buy in, you kind of have to go all in. You know, like if you believe that the government is doing little things to make your life worse, it then gets easier to believe that they're doing bigger and bigger things. And I think that's how you suck people in. Yeah. It's that sense of like, you're going to be in on this secret, you know, and everyone is against us and we're the good guys here. We're the heroes here.
Yeah. But it's also kind of, even though it's a collective thing, it's also very individualist. So it's kind of like, in a very individualistic society as we have these days, in America even more so, it's kind of like everybody wants to believe that they're special. And if they think they know something that the majority of people don't know, they can validate that and go, I'm special because I know that all the Democrats are secretly pedophiles and lizard people and in league with the Illuminati or whatever else.
And the more other people push against that and kind of ridicule them or whatever, the more that enforces the sense of like, well, I must be onto something here. Otherwise, why would they push back so hard against it?
Absolutely.
Completely. And my biggest gripe with it is, though, as well, these people should not be allowed to hold office. When you've got people like Boba and Marjorie Taylor Greene, like those people. So I was talking about this the other day with Naomi. It's like, I do believe that anyone should be able to hold office, right? It shouldn't be, there shouldn't be, you know, a really good example is the mayor of Coventry. In the UK, Sheffield, sorry, yeah, he's fucking fantastic. Like, he is just a down-to-earth, regular guy who has become mayor. But the thing is, he is obviously really switched on and intelligent. So, like, if you want, I do believe that if you want to, like, that holding mayor is not like the same as being a governor or a senator. It's a different power level, right? And I think that, you know, you've got these people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I refuse to remember her name. But getting elected into office, because anyone can fucking run and get elected. I do believe that, you know, if you want to go straight into high office, you should have a background in law. Now, I know that does not preclude you from being a fucking nut job. Case in point, Rudy Giuliani. But I do believe that, you know, you should have some kind of formal training or education and understand the law and governance. Or you should have worked your way up from a lower local government position. So, you know, you start out in local government and you gradually, over time, you know, that is a supplement for your education, you know, your experience. It's like me in IT. I have no formal education, but I worked my way up from the ground up. When you have that opportunity for anyone of any walk of life to just run and try and get elected, I understand the equal opportunity side of it, but I also think it opens up the doors to a lot of potential fuck-ups. I mean, there is no way in hell, like, in any reasonable society, you should have allowed someone like Donald Trump to even run for the fucking presidency in the first place. He's so obviously inept, corrupt, narcissistic, malignant, vile, abhorrent shit face of an excuse of a human being that he should not have been allowed anywhere near other human beings, let alone governing them. Sorry.
Yeah. No, totally agree. Yeah, I think there's definitely you have a valid point there. I guess the only counter to that I would have is if those are the only people who are allowed to hold office, what you potentially end up with is a lot of what could be termed as career politicians.
Well, you end up with British politics.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said for people having some grounding in real world experience and having done jobs outside of politics and not having spent their whole lives being groomed for politics and then going straight into it.
Oh no, I can appreciate that. I just think I suppose what I'm trying to say is there should be more of a vetting process. Like, you shouldn't just be able to run and get elected. There should be some other step of vetting involved before that point happens. Like, if you are going to run for a significantly high office, you should have a full background check done. Because, because I do agree with you. Like, because a good example of that is the guy who ran for governor of Texas. What was his name? Young guy. Come on,
Beto O'Rourke.
Beto O'Rourke. He's a really good example of a grassroots politician, and so is AOC. So like I wouldn't want to put. God forbid we should have a barrier entry to getting people like that, genuine progressives, into politics. But I do think there should be some kind of vetting process. I guess really what I'm trying to say.
I think it's like what we were saying is. I don't know, it's not a perfect system in the UK, but generally speaking, when you have your local elections and it comes out that, look, this candidate has a history of making anti-Semitic tweets or whatever, usually that person is then kind of embarrassed into dropping out, right? That doesn't necessarily, in the US at the moment, that seems to be like a boost rather than a problem.
It's like, oh, she thinks there's Jewish space lasers? Yes, stop the Jewish space lasers. Jewish space lasers. There is someone in high office who believes in Jewish space lasers. This is where my problem is.
But this is it. You have to keep upping the ante, because I think, to misuse a phrase, controversy creates publicity, and the crazier things you are saying, the more, like I was saying to you yesterday, I know in America they kind of have to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene a lot right now because she's saying and doing a lot of things that are important to discuss. But I wish they didn't, because giving this publicity and this constant oxygen, it's the same way that Trump rose, with people just being like, look at that crazy thing she's saying now, let's put her on the news again.
But cycling back to the QAnon thing, it's been very interesting. So to watch some interviews with people that were stormed the Capitol, like is it the QAnon shaman guy is now saying, I testify against Trump. And it's just like, I think that's more like, I don't want to go to jail for a very long time, so I'll turn states.
My favourite bit about him was his mother saying that he can't stay in the prison because he needs to have an organic diet.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
It's like, you fucking, like, to turn their own phrase against them, you fucking libtard.
Yeah.
Post-revolution, there's not going to be organic chicken.
Yeah. Again, it's projection.
It's projection.
All these people are actually deeply sensitive to having their own beliefs questioned and challenged.
Yeah,
and they build a wall of them around themselves.
Which again is a hallmark
other
of a
people
cult.
are just being sensitive when I say my insensitive things. But I can't,
Yeah, but it's the hallmark of the cult, and like, well, if you're attacking me, that kind of proves that I am the righteous one.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna start a cult, start a good cult, like worship Cthulhu. Worship Cthulhu.
I mean, he doesn't really have good aims.
No, I know, but at least it'd be more
kind of
entertaining.
safe because he's not likely to actually.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
But
But like a really good example of like the susceptibility of people. It crosses a broad spectrum, because there was someone that I would have considered a good friend for a long time, an old raving friend of mine, who is now a full gone flat earther. And it's like, I knew him back in the day. He was a very rational, normal person, and now he is out there.
I still wish you would let me ask him once about flat Earth.
I couldn't deal with it.
Just once.
He's so like, and he is so like, like all our friends, like our collective friends, he's just systematically block them. As soon as they, and it's not even that they're attacking him, they just ask a question about flat Earth and then just like, you rounders. I'm like, fuck's sake. And I think and I think this is one of the it's that double-edged sword of social media, in that social media has done a lot of good things, things like help facilitate stuff like the Arab Spring, but at the same time it's given voice to a voiceless minority that has become a larger majority that should have remained a voiceless minority. It's allowed, and some of this actually comes down to the platform owner's responsibility. I do believe that social media platforms should take a greater responsibility in vetting, certain types of disinformation to being decided. Like if it's outwardly harmful, like when when Twitter started accenting all Trump's things about election fraud and things like that. That kind of thing needs to be done more often. I think there needs to be more ownership taken by platforms to do that and to qualify like, hey, yes, this guy said this thing, but it's not verified. And even, if you wanted to really go a lot further, say, look, here are some counterpoints, maybe read these, actually give people the opportunity to give them the information, give them the opportunity to read more.
I mean, in the case of Twitter, which you kind of have to talk about if you're talking about Trump, Twitter is not designed for in-depth conversation. It's just not. It's designed for sound bites, and that's why it's been successful. It's not designed for debate and counter-argument.
But they doubled the character limit, Naomi, so it's all fine now.
I'm going to tell you, 280 characters is fuck all. That's not even a sentence. And
no,
I've
all right, little Miss Run On.
I've sat in on a webinar for work on a slightly unrelated topic, but it was about how reports of harmful content are handled on sites like Pornhub and Twitter. And so there's an element of the social contract that it's also on users. And I'm not saying this should be anyone's job, but if you see something that you're like, okay, that is anti-Semitic, that is racist, that is telling someone to harm themselves, it's on you to report it as well. Twitter need to do their side of things and decide, are we going to mute this person because they called someone a twat, or should we focus on this group of racists here? Like, what's more important? And sometimes they don't make the right choice. But if you're going to, some of these places are what you make them.
Yeah, I think it almost comes down to to reference Titus again, actually, because he made a very good point in his recent show in that. First Amendment, let's use America, as the example because it's an example to use right now. First Amendment gives you the legal right to say whatever you like, but it doesn't give you the moral right. And I do believe that there should be, like you say, yes, there is a moral incentive, imperative is the word I'm looking, imperative on the rest of society to call out these fuckers. Because if everyone started really concentrating and calling out this bullshit, you are going to start to turn the tide eventually, because let's face it, there's more good people than there are bad people in the world. At least I hope to believe.
I think you basically have to make it not okay to have these opinions in public, I think that's part of it. There are people who are always going to have vile opinions, but if you make it so they are ashamed or embarrassed to have them in public, that's part of the battle.
That's kind of where we got to at one point, wasn't it? I think the 90s into the 2000s, we almost got to that point, and now we're experiencing a backlash. But I think social progress comes in waves. So it's like we make a load of progress, and then there's a big backlash, and then we make more progress, and then there's a big backlash. And we just have to make sure that we're making more progress than we're stepping back. Each time. It has been extremely shocking to see some of the things that have happened with the rise of Trump and, in my opinion, the most inept, most racist prime minister we've had in the last 50 years.
Which one?
If not the most inept ever.
Well, I mean, that could run the last three, let's be fair.
No, Boris Johnson by a fucking mile. In terms of competence, he wants the title, but he also wants to spend most of his time on holiday, just like Trump did. He doesn't actually want to put in the work.
No, Johnson wants to have been prime minister. Yeah. He doesn't want to be prime minister. I think
the difference between him and the previous ones, as much as I dislike Theresa May, as much as I really dislike David Cameron for gambling his personal political career with the country's future.
Yep.
With the EU vote. I think at least they were hardworking. They were competent at what they did.
I wouldn't call Theresa May competent.
However damaging it was to society.
I would not give her the credit of competence.
But still, would you not call her...
I would call her better than Boris. I would call her better than Boris.
You're like powers of 10 competence better than Boris Johnson, who's
but
just...
then, honest to God, my left nutsack is powers to 10 competence better than Boris Johnson.
Well, this is my point. This is my point. He's easily the most inept we've ever
You know
had.
that story about the guy in like America in like the 19 or 1820s that was laying railroad spikes and it went through his head? That guy is more competent than Boris Johnson, right? Like you could go to any. Like, if you went back and found someone who was lobotomized, if you go and find a lobotomized person and put them in charge, they would do a better job. Like, it's not a high bar to clear.
No, he's just careless. He's careless with what he says. He's careless with what he thinks. He's careless with what he does.
How he's got to this position with some of the racist rhetoric he's used. I mean,
but he was on I've Got News for You, and he was really funny and cuddly.
Because he was a bumbling fucking idiot. You know who was great on How Have I Got News for You?
That's the persona.
Ryan Blessed.
Persona that got him here, isn't it?
He puts forward that bumbling...
The illusion of the affable bumbling buffoon.
Yeah, completely.
When in fact he's actually quite a hateful man.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
A prejudiced man and incompetent.
It's like you were saying about the 90s. And like me and Naomi have talked about this a lot. And actually, the 90s was very much, in terms of progression in the society and politics, 90s was very much a golden era. And yes, like at the end, Blair fucked it up. But Blair genuinely was one of the best prime ministers that we've had in my living lifetime. Like, you know, up until Iraq, he was a good prime minister.
I don't agree with a lot of the new Labour style stuff. I'm very much an old school Labour guy.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, but let's look at the prime ministers that we've had in our lifetime. Who would you rate higher than Blair? Not Maggie. Fuck no. She ruined the country once. John Major? Not so much. Who was after Major? Was it Blair?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we've got Blair. Yeah. Then we've got
the coalition, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Gordon Brown.
Gordon Brown, and then and then you've got the coalition, and then you've got Cameron, and then you've got where we are now. So you know, in our living lifetime, can you say that we've had a better prime minister?
Yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, you're probably right. I mean, there's lots of reasons I don't like Tony Blair.
I'm not trying to whitewash Tony Blair or give him like, you know.
I also, and I also think he was the start of like, or maybe the rebirth of like cult of personality politics in this UK. Like he was the very presentable, affable guy. Because without Blair, there's no David Cameron as prime minister. I don't think.
Yeah, I think I can see.
Cameron followed Blair's mark, and ultimately, New Labour was a centre-right government. You know, we haven't actually had even a social democratic government since the 70s.
No,
and the last time one got in, you know, it all kind of went wrong because of lots of reasons we're not even going to start getting into here because my God, that would take forever. But we've not had a left-wing government in so long.
No,
ultimately because England's not left-wing.
No, I was about to say it's fundamentally a right-leaning country.
Yeah,
and we drag everyone else right with us.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I'd always kind of. I have a different view of England now. I don't live there. When I was living there, I always like to believe that yes, we were more right-leaning, but we were kind of centrist right. But obviously, over the last few years, and now seeing it from an outsider's perspective, it is just objectively a definitely a more right-leaning country. You can tend to lose sight of that, especially where we were living in Cambridge, because Cambridge is a very liberal, left-leaning city. And that's one of the reasons I love it. And I still love Cambridge. And I think because Cambridge, as we all know, has that Cambridge bubble, kind of like you're in Cambridge, everything's great. But actually, if you look at the UK at large, it's not Cambridge. But I mean, it's really interesting here because here we currently have a centre-right party.
We don't have a government at all.
Well, our entire government resigned.
They're just caretaking now. They're caretaking until the elections in March, at which point they will probably be voted back in again. Yeah.
So the whole scandal was a few years ago now, but it's all just finally come through and all the final findings have been released. But the Minister for Benefits at the time, who was part of this government and was under Prime Minister Rutte's charge, was hounding families to pay back tens of thousands of euros in benefits that they didn't owe, and they were specifically targeting immigrant families as well. And it's fucking abhorrent. Like, hundreds of families had to declare bankruptcy, and were completely ruined. And the government still has not paid any money out to them in compensation. But when the final findings came out, the entire government and Rutte, the Prime Minister, just said, "Yep, we resign. We have to resign."
And everyone's like, "Oh, politicians taking responsibility. That's nice. This doesn't affect my opinion of them at all. I'm still going to vote for them."
And then the next strongest party in the we have some really great left parties here. What were the two that we were talking about?
Jeez, I can't remember.
Because they're all acronyms here. And I can't remember any of the acronyms, but
I want to say DD6.
So there's the DD6, which is very social left, and there's a Green Party, which is also very social left, as Green parties tend to be. But one of the next biggest parties in our country, in the Netherlands, is fucking far right. Like, we're talking Trump levels of right. Like, I mean,
don't do that arm movement when you're saying about.
No, I mean, it warrants that fucking arm movement.
He's swinging his left arm about.
Okay. Okay, sorry. They are so.
No, stop it. Stop that.
They're so right. They don't even turn left when they get to crossings anymore. If they need to go somewhere that's left, they'll turn right until they can turn right again.
I fact check myself. It's D66. That's the one we're thinking of.
Yes, D66. Yeah, they're the party that when we can vote here, we will vote for. Which, maybe a wasted vote, but we'll see. But the one thing that's kind of good here is that for however long, it's always been a coalition government. There's never been one majority ruling party. So that tends to even things out a little bit more. Because, the coalition obviously is led by Rutte's party now, but there's more than one other party in there.
Yeah. And even though I'm going to mispronounce his name, Geert Wilders, the right wing dickhead. He other parties just don't want to work with him. So no matter how well he might do in an election, other parties are like, we just don't want to be shackled to this guy.
Yeah, so there is that benefit, but it's been interesting here because obviously since the lockdown happened and the curfew happened, we've had riots. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I did see a bit of it on the news.
Yeah.
What?
it kind of slips under the radar here with everything else that's been going on here and in other countries. But
well, I think generally the Netherlands is not it's not a major player on the world stage.
Well, I think also as well the outside view of the Netherlands is that it's just a nice, chill, pragmatic country.
Stoner country.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Like people just kind of go about their business.
It's not. It's actually
in a quiet way.
We were talking before, like the individualist streak is very, very strong here, and it's always been a more right-leaning country, which is interesting as well because it's got such a high migrant population. But the riots have been really interesting. Like apparently we weren't affected, luckily, but there were riots in Oslo where we live. Probably shouldn't have said that anyway. And it's been contained to what I call the deep south of the Netherlands, basically the hick villages. Sorry? Yes, the village called Urk.
The Alabama of the Netherlands, as somebody put it to me.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about that the other day, weren't you?
Yeah.
I love that.
I think as well it's been... these aren't riots on the same scale that you might see elsewhere, but I think maybe that's part of the reason it's kind of been big news over here because it's just like we don't riot in the Netherlands, but the general feeling is
apart from on King's Day when it's just called a party.
But that's legal rioting. The general feeling is it's kind of a mix of kids who are just looking for an excuse to make trouble and set off fireworks, and genuine anti-lockdown people who, I think you can tie it back to the QAnon. It's that section of society who are like bought into these conspiracy ideas that the government is working to oppress you and make your life worse, which in some countries obviously is incredibly true. So maybe that's why it's attractive.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing, isn't it, about people who get deep into that kind of conspiracy theory is a low level of trust in the people who run their country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
the big tech companies that dominate, how we live our lives.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's one of the reasons.
Not trusting degradation of trust and authority.
I wonder if that's one of the reasons that it's been hard for the UK to keep these lockdowns in place, is because people are like, well, if Boris Johnson says it's true, I don't trust him. If he says it's what I should do, I don't believe him.
I honestly think a lot of people voted the current government in the UK kind of holding their nose while doing it, you know? I don't actually think that a lot of people like the Conservative Party in its current form.
No.
But I think we have such an anti-left propaganda across most media that they think, oh, well, this is the lesser of two evils. Definitely the lesser of two evils. So I'm going to hold my nose. I'm going to vote for them, and then everything will be less shit than if we got one of those old school lefty, pie in the sky socialists in. Because that means
I can understand. I can almost kind of. I don't agree with it, but I can understand it, especially when the option on the other side was Corbyn, because I think Corbyn was a very divisive leader of the Labour Party. I don't think he was ever going to be someone that was going to unite the party, and he was ever going to be someone that was going to win an election. That one time where they came close and they were like, hey, we did so well. I think that was just more the left people in the country were just so fucking outraged. They're like, no, we'll just vote for you because we hate the other guy so much. I do think Keir Starmer as leader of Labour Party is a much better candidate. I think, from what I've seen of Prime Minister's Question Time over here, which isn't as easy to get hold of, and just the general Houses of Parliament, rather the House of Parliament debates and stuff. Keir Starmer's really good at fucking calling the opposition out on their bullshit.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the previous and the new Labour leadership is, the way I see it, is that Corbyn was an old school lefty, basically.
Yeah.
And he was very kind of, I liked him because he was obviously very principled. He had his left-leaning principles, and in my view, he held a lot of the same views that I do. Mm-hmm. So in principle, absolutely, he's my man if we're going to have a prime minister. But he also came along with being a little bit of a yesterday's man in politics, because I don't think you can get elected being someone like that these days, because the cult of personality thing, as I said, has gone too far. Like, people are expecting a polished politician, as much as they say they want a fresh ideas and change or whatever. It's become a bit of a meme, to be honest. But actually, if you put an old school lefty in front of them, they'll go, well, that's not that guy just doesn't look professional enough to be leading the country. However principled he might be. I think Keir Starmer plays the modern politics game a lot better, and therefore comes across a lot better in Prime Minister's Questions or whatever, and in the media. But I also think he is a swing back towards New Labour.
He is, but my attitude is that progression comes in small doses. So I'd rather we swing back to New Labour and then move forward from there than keep going down the current path.
Oh, sure. I would still rather have a Labour government than the current one. I've absolutely no doubts about that. And I would, by the same token, I would hold my nose and vote for a Keir Starmer government as an alternative to Conservatives. I wouldn't necessarily like it, because I don't really believe in him in the way that I believed in the principles of what Jeremy Corbyn was trying to do.
I know. It's the same thing. I was going to say, it's the same thing with Bernie Sanders, in that I love Bernie, but and same with Warren as well. They are amazing, but they are too far for the general acceptance required to get.
I mean, that's the crazy thing, though. Like about what the Overton window is, right?
Yeah.
The kind of window of acceptable opinion. So it's obviously swung it swung pretty far to the right here. It swung very far in the US. And Bernie is a centrist, really. He's not even left-leaning. I mean, people like AOC, she is actually left-wing, and she represents an actual radical voice. And I think a lot of young people, she really speaks to them. And she's still a bit of it's very much a minority movement in the States. But Bernie is he's not even left wing. He's just saying, hey, can't we make sure everyone gets a bit of healthcare and it's affordable?
Well, to be fair, I mean,
people are like, he's a communist. He's coming to destroy them.
Like
It's
saying everyone should get healthcare and that everyone should get like a basic living wage. That's fucking left leaning in America.
Yeah, I know.
And that's the crazy.
It's leftovers from the Cold War. The Red Panic in the US is fucking insane. The fact that it's still going on to this day.
It's alive and well. It never went away.
This is what I'm saying.
Absolutely
they love a good moral panic in America.
Yeah.
You got to have one every few decades just to keep things interesting.
But coming back to what we were saying about the cult of personality and also the, you know, people wanting that more typical career politician aesthetic and feel in their elected officials now. I think that's one damage that the Trump legacy is going to have on there, because even, you know, there's going to be a lot more hesitance from rational people to vote in someone who is that kind of non-typical politician, because of last time they did, it was Trump, and what the fuck happened, right? Obviously, the people that voted for Trump are going to keep voting for anyone that's that radical. Like, you know, Ted Cruz is basically trying to make himself the new Trump.
I'd be interested to see if they will, though, because I mean, with Trump, it really was a cult of personality. It's not that he was a Republican, it's that he is Trump. That's what people like. And I don't know if Ted Cruz is going to inspire that same level of fanaticism.
I don't think an anal polyp can inspire very much in anyone, really.
The question is, can Ted Cruz actually run for president? Because he's actually Canadian.
Hey, that's very true.
He has.
Oh, you have to be born in the US, don't you? To be president.
He has removed his Canadian citizenship and is purely US now.
I don't think his name is even really Ted.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz.
Bungle, are you saying that you demand to see Ted Cruz's birth certificate?
His long form birth certificate.
I want to see his birth certificate.
No, I'm correct. His name is Rafael Cruz.
Which is arguably a better name.
Not if you want to be elected as a Republican.
If you want to be an American politician, I would say Ted is a lot more palatable.
No, Chuck.
For white people.
Chuck. Or
But yeah,
Chad.
I think I think obviously there's a desperation amongst Republicans now to keep that crazy voter base, and that's why they're standing behind people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I wonder if anyone is going to be able to capture that base the way Trump did, because it's not like his policies were particularly deep or meaningful. You know, people told him like, hey, you want to be a Republican, you got to be anti-abortion. She's like, cool, I'm anti-abortion. Tell people I'm anti-abortion. It's not really about what he was for. It's about him as a personality.
Yeah. I mean, the other, like, as much as the evil and everything of Trump is a problem, I genuinely think the biggest problem right now are more people like Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, those career senators that are just evil, malignant forces in politics.
But the other issue with the US politics system is the lobbies. The lobbies control the government. Like they're the medical insurance companies, the big tobacco companies, the firearm companies, the military industrial complex, which there was a kind of as a president when he was leaving.
It was Eisenhower.
Beware of the military industrial complex. Everyone fucking ignored it. Now look at it. Some of the biggest funders behind both parties are probably Lockheed Martin and Boeing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Although I would love to see inside Skunk Works.
Is that where they keep the UFOs?
No, Skunk Works is Lockheed Martin's like prototype development and secret technology
so
development.
It might be why they keep the UFOs.
No, it's not where they keep them. It's where they use the technology from them to make new shit.
Right. Okay.
like in Independence Day.
Yeah.
Yes. So we finally watched Independence Day Resurgence not long ago.
Oh, did you?
It's certainly a film.
It's okay. It's not great. It's not as offensive as everyone made out. It's saved completely by the fact that Jeff Goldblum is in it. But it's
I think if you really love Independence Day, there's no reason to watch Independence Day Resurgence.
Yeah, there isn't. But if you really love Jeff Goldblum, then maybe
there are probably still better Jeff Goldblum films you could watch.
I'd rather watch a good film with Jeff Goldblum in it, but I get the rationale, definitely.
I didn't come away going, I hate this. I'm just like,
it was like a fine way to pass some time. Yeah.
So I watched what's the most recent Jurassic World film called?
Oh, the second one with the where they take the mutant thing into that, and it's basically a slasher film with dinosaurs.
That was basically a rip-off of The Lost World.
Yep.
B, it was incredibly boring.
Mm-hmm.
And C, it made me realize that not even sticking Jeff Goldblum in it can save a film. Actually, they completely misuse Jeff Goldblum because all he's doing is making a speech, which you see parts of it right at the beginning and parts of it at the end.
Yeah,
he's not actually really in it, which so I guess it almost doesn't count. But man, I'll tell you what, I've never walked out of a film in the cinema. But when I was watching that film, I went with Tony because she really wanted to see it because she really liked the first Jurassic World, which I thought was watchable, but like stupid to the point where I was like, this is so stupid that I'm not even finding it funny. It's just stupid. Like the bit where anyway, the bit where they're kissing when there's pterodactyls killing people, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Jesus.
Priorities, people.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, as I say, I never walked out of a film in the cinema, but when we were watching the second Jurassic World, I was so bored that I actually closed my eyes for 10 minutes, and I was just like, I hope I can get a nap in here because I was so bored. I just couldn't believe how it was so by the numbers and so predictable, and the script was just terrible, and I was just like, that is easily the worst film I've seen at the cinema, and not even having Jeff Goldblum in it, even tangentially, could save it. So, anyway, rant over. I just really
I appreciate. I've never seen it, and when I found out that Jeff Goldblum was only
never,
as soon as I found out that he's only in like 2 scenes, I was like, I'm out. I've never walked out of a film in the cinema, but I have been ejected from one. I got kicked out of a showing of Titanic because I was laughing, and a load of like really angsty, like, you know, women that were all crying and shit just got really angry with me, and basically they fucking ejected me out of the cinema.
I'm sorry. There's no way you can argue that guy who falls off the back when it's rising up out of the sea, hits the propeller and spins all the way down. Isn't hilarious.
He's hilarious.
That's the best bit of the whole film. It's hilarious.
I am like, I saw Dave's post earlier about like how Meg is not a good film, and I heartily disagree.
Shocking.
The Meg is amazing bad film.
It's an amazingly bad film, but it shouldn't have been. Was it a PG-13?
Yeah,
it was in
12 here.
It was in development hell for so long. Like the author has been trying to get it made into a film basically since 1997. And I would imagine
that
that
film had a 15 or an 18 rating, it would have been so much better.
But I imagine that what ended up on screens is very different from the author's original vision.
Yeah. But I think it, like, in terms of, like, you know, it's in that same vein as Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, in that you can just sit and watch and have a great time with that.
It's Jason Statham fighting a giant shark. I don't know what people are expecting. Like, it's not aspiring to be high up.
I will literally watch any film that has Jason Statham in it quite happily, because the guy is just fucking fantastic.
It's going to be entertaining, at least.
I'm going to bat
Jason
for it
Statham's
because
in it. It's going to have some entertainment value.
Like, I will say, Crank and Crank 2 are genuinely great films.
I think I watched the first one of those. It's very forgettable, but like,
I think they're fantastic. I think the second one, High Voltage, where he constantly has to like electrocute himself to stay alive. It's a lot of fun. And is it the first or the second one where he's running around with the raging stiffy?
I don't remember that from either film.
No, there's one where he like electrocutes him. I think it's the second one. He electrocutes himself and he gets a raging hard on. He's running around for ages with a raging hard on. It's just the funniest fucking scene.
Well, I'm going to bat for Meg because I read that book at a very formative age. I think it's fucking amazing, and I want them to make the sequels because there's going to be like Leopleurodons and giant prehistoric whales and time travel and all kinds of crazy shit. It's going to be amazing.
I want some of that.
If they make it, I will go watch it because, well, me, the missus, and Mark, we will watch shit shark films.
Any shark film, basically,
any shark film, which is like some of the ones we have watched. Raiders of the Lost Shark, for starters. One we've got saved up to watch next time. Well, because he's now moved over to Wales, we can when we can, we're going to go over there and we're going to watch Malibu Shark Attack, which is on our list of things to watch. But yeah, we have watched some of the most atrociously made films.
It's like a whole subgenre of films. It's amazing.
Yeah, Frankenshark.
I love it.
Or
Sand Sharks.
It's Frankenshark or Sharkenstein. One of them's a softcore porn. The other one's a shark film with the occasional bit of tit.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just like...
It's great. I love that films like this exist. Like, I'm not highbrow when it comes to cinema. I want explosions and giant animals fighting each other. That's all I need.
I think there's a time and a place for almost any kind of film, though, isn't there? I quite like high art stuff, but I also like ridiculous, silly, stupid stuff. There's a place for it all. There's a place for it all in my heart.
There's the series of it's like basically multiple head shark attack. Like there's 2-headed shark attack.
Oh yeah.
3-headed shark, and then there's 5-headed shark attack, which is basically that shark is 5 heads.
And it's attacking.
It uses limbs to walk on land.
So
fucking amazing.
On this topic, what is everyone's favorite shark film?
The Meg.
I am actually a massive fan of the original Jaws film.
Okay, so you're going for like quality.
Serious
not
shark films.
quality. I mean,
Jaws is a great film.
It's a fucking amazing film, and I have a massive soft spot in my heart for that. I mean, I've watched all of the Jaws films, including Jaws 3 and Jaws the Revenge, both of which are
terrible
dog shit films.
Yeah,
but the original Jaws, with you barely see the shark in it because it was so badly made, and that made that film because the shark would malfunction all the time. That's why you never saw it. You'd only see it at the couple of bits at the end because it kept breaking down in salt water. But it made that film amazing, and Spielberg's direction behind it as well was just something else. I mean, like I said, I've watched a lot of bad shark films, like Mega Shark versus Colossus is brilliant. A giant Russian robot powered by red matter. Yes, please.
Okay,
Fighting a shark, even better.
I haven't seen enough shark films to even really vote on this. I love Jaws as a film, but I just haven't seen many shark films. So
see, for me, mine's it's a bad film, but it's a campy favorite. It's Deep Blue Sea.
I've seen Deep Blue Sea 2.
Sorry?
I've seen Deep Blue Sea 2.
No.
That was quite recent, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago.
Deep Blue Sea 3 is out as well now, which is again another one we're going to watch with Mark at some point.
Why didn't they call it Deep Blue 3?
Yeah.
It was right there.
do they still have LL Cool J in them?
No, but we have watched the entire Sharktopus series of Sharktopus versus Terracuda and Sharktopus versus Whale Wolf.
Okay.
God.
Again,
amazing.
Brilliant film series.
I mentioned it on the last show. Me and Naomi are embarking on a project for some shows for the Protein Ramblings. We have got the top 200 horror movies of all time from Rotten Tomatoes. What we've done is we've bracketed them out by decade, and we're going to do a show per decade and talk about other films, and we're basically going to watch them in like a tournament format until we get the best from each decade, and then decide ultimately what is the best horror film of all time. So that's a long form project for the show that we're going to be working on. 200 plus, it's actually going to be just over 200 films because there were some decades that ended up with uneven numbers in brackets, so we've had to add some in there, and there were some just obvious classics that were missing. But we're going back to like the 1920s, like 100-year-old movies like Nosferatu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I can already tell you what's winning the 70s though. Alien.
Yeah, I mean, but
a thriller though.
No, it's a sci-fi horror.
It's sci-fi horror.
I definitely count it as a horror film. Yeah. I think it falls far enough into that bracket.
It's basically a haunted house film in space.
Yeah. About Mayo.
But it's a monster movie as well, right?
Yeah. It's one of the most atmospheric films all time by a long margin. We were watching the Honest Trailer. We were just watching some Honest Trailers last night. I watched the one for not Prometheus, Covenant, Alien. Ridley Scott's going to make 6 more Alien films. Why?
Why?
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh my God, you've already destroyed it.
They shouldn't even have let him. Oh my God, I can't even tell you.
Is it just because it's going to take 6 films?
Coke off hookers' asses. That's what he needs to stop doing.
Is it going to take him 6 films to explain everything that happened in Covenant?
No, because you can explain everything that happened in Covenant in one sentence. Pissy android destroyed everything.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's all. That's the thing, though. He's closed the loop and explained the stuff that happened pre-Alien, but he's done it in. It's all so disappointing. I was like, I'd much rather not know than have you explain it like this.
Yeah,
because
the more you explain,
it doesn't make any sense.
No, the more you explain
like
xenomorphs, the less sense they make.
I mean, just look at the xenomorph life cycle for like
all Weyland-Yutani is a corporation. Like, is this all they do? They're just into xenomorphs. Like, there must be other branches of the corp, right? But they've got one that's specifically dedicated to finding incredibly dangerous aliens and bringing them home.
You've got to wonder, haven't you?
Like, yeah, I mean, the CEO of that company is like, what are their board meetings like?
Yeah.
What did they discuss in a Weyland?
Let's get in Alan to discuss how the Xenomorph project is. More people dead, you say? Another
I
spaceship
can tell you
lost?
again
Still?
how that's going to go. Especially you're going to be get the mirror out, chop, 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 chop. We need to get some fucking aliens, man.
I want the PowerPoint presentation from the Weyland-Yutani board meeting where they discuss the Xenomorph project.
What I want to do...
And just show the statistics. So, yes, we've... 26% of our workforce are currently impregnated. The other 60% are dead. And then we have a small minority here which are trapped on a spaceship on a planet somewhere and we can't reach them.
So that's another $1 trillion gone. So what I want to do, we should do this for a future show. I want to do the Weyland-Yutani versus Umbrella Corporation.
Oh,
who's the most successful evil corporation? Because I think it's Umbrella.
Here's something I want to throw into the mix here. Here's my prediction that for the future that I may not even live to see come true, but I believe that Tesla will become Weyland-Yutani eventually.
Yeah,
I mean,
look at SpaceX and everything Elon Musk is doing there, right?
I mean, also, there's
another electric car company in China called NIO that could easily merge and become part of Tesla. So then you've got Tesla NIO replacing Weyland-Yutani.
It's all very...
and Elon Musk becomes the Weyland character and ends up using SpaceX to go and find the xenomorphs, and then we're all fucked.
It's leading us towards a very cyberpunk dystopian future. Just massive corporations ruling everything.
I mean, I could so I play Shadowrun RP, which is obviously basically kind of Blade Runner future, but with magic and so. And I mean, I'm not completely opposed to it. It's like, it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. I mean, it'll be horrible, but
I like enough with interesting, horrible
times. The thing is, that kind of mega corporation cyberpunk future. At least it's got a cool aesthetic.
I live in the gutter, but at least I've got my vaporwave aesthetics.
Yeah. I'm really into vaporwave, in case you hadn't noticed from the rebranding of the podcast.
Yeah. I've been playing a lot of Cyberpunk recently, so
I haven't picked it up. I haven't picked it up yet because I just heard it's buggy as shit still.
I'm waiting until they do a couple more patches. And
ditto.
They've had the first big chapter come out now.
Usually with these big new games, like the most hyped AAA game, I get really excited for it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, no, I'm not going to pre-order this because it's going to be buggy as shit when it comes out. And then eventually, what I usually end up doing is waiting until the first time it goes on sale and then buying it then.
Yeah,
because by that time they've fixed it.
Yeah, I got a Steam gift card from work, so I was like, fuck, I'm buying Cyberpunk.
Fair enough. Sorry, go on, Beth.
No, I was just saying why not. But I mean, as a kind of proxy fill-in, I've played loads of Cyberpunk games to kind of not play Cyberpunk, but to play Cyberpunk. So I've played Observer, which is quite good.
That's the one with Rutger Hauer, isn't it? Doing the main voice.
Yeah. So that's quite good. I played what's it called? Soma.
Soma's supposed to be really good. I've not played that because that's the guys that made Amnesia, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's similar mechanics, but of course it's a sci-fi futuristic sci-fi setting. It's had a fair few comparisons to BioShock.
I was going to say you can always just go back and play BioShock because classic.
I don't think it's unfair, although it's is much less actiony than. So if you imagine BioShock being more like Amnesia, you're getting towards what it's like.
Okay, what was the?
I thought it was really good.
Oh, what was the BioShock was the spirit System Shock. System Shock. If you want like classic Cyberpunk, go back and play System Shock, right? Yeah. I mean, to be honest, if you want a great Cyberpunk game, like you're saying about Shadowrun, the actual Shadowrun video games are fantastic. Tactical.
I played Dragonfall a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That was really good. Yeah.
They are really good. My friend Miro's just got he kickstarted the Shadowrun board game as well, so we've got that. Yeah, I've got that to look forward to playing. But yeah, like Cyberpunk in general as an aesthetic and as a game premise, it works very well for computer games. I think as a whole.
Absolutely.
But in terms of in games recently, I got sucked into Genshin Impact, which is all your time and your money, because the freemium model is not. It's like you want to progress and you don't want to put in 5,000 hours. Cough up, motherfucker.
Do you want some crack? The first hit's free.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And the thing is, the combat in it is really addictive. So it's got a really cool aesthetic and look, it's anime as fuck. So obviously, weeboo me is totally into it. But other than that, I've really not been playing a lot of games because I was just working, and I've got this element, like Naomi was saying before, about like I'd rather be playing board games. I think part of that is because I'm sat at a fucking computer all day. My recreation time, I don't want to be at a computer anymore.
Yeah.
I've been playing a bit of Rust recently again, getting back into that. I know Ian picked up got a Rust server, and a few of us have been playing on there, just having a bit of a run around, and that's been nice. It's basically been mainly just me and EO, which has been a real nice blast in the past. Playing some games with EO for the first time in years.
Awesome.
It's really fun.
So I've been playing a lot of games with my brother Phil and his friend Paul, or my friend Paul now as well. And motherfuckers have got me playing WoW.
Oh no!
I know, but I have we're getting into Guild Wars again. We're going back into Guild Wars. Yeah,
that's like I can bring it all the way back round to mental health here.
Yes.
I think that's whatever social interaction you can get at the moment, whether it's a poor substitute for seeing people in person or not, and to be honest, most things are.
Yeah.
I appreciate and miss seeing people in person. Like back when that was a given, and you could do that anytime. I missed out on so many opportunities just because I couldn't be bothered to go and see people in person. But once we're out of all this, my God, I'm going to go and see so many people in person.
Well, I'm anticipating lots of visitors coming here.
I just want to. I'm ready to go and hug people for an uncomfortably long amount
definitely. I tell you what, it's one of the drivers behind me revamping the podcast and really getting this up and running again as well, because this is just a great way to touch base and to connect with people and just have a fucking conversation.
Because we obviously don't talk to each other.
I mean, we talk to each other all the time. But we've been together 12 years. We
have nothing left to say.
Well, no, we do, but we say the same shit to each other a lot. Like, I don't know how many times I've heard the story about Holly getting the cheese stuck in her mouth.
But it's a good story.
Yeah, but it's like there is a finite amount. Obviously, we can talk about current events and that, but there's
It's fine. You can just say that you're bored of my company. I'm not going to be offended. Like I understand.
We're having great conversations about your books at the moment because I'm currently reading through Naomi's Blood Canticles series, which I really recommend. It's fantastic. Blood Witch is an amazing book. I burned through that like in a night or so. And so much so that I didn't sleep. It was so good that I couldn't stop reading and lost out on a night's sleep. So high praise. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but no, seriously, high praise. It's fantastic. And I beta read her upcoming release. When is that known?
There's no projected release date.
So do the public know about it?
I don't mind people talking about it.
Okay, so the upcoming project, Hand of Fate, which fucking me is so good. Like, genuinely one of my favorite books that she's written. The concept is fantastic. It's so you have magical families, and if you're born into a magical family, you may be born with a power, and that power manifests in your hand. Not everyone gets a power, and the main protagonist has the Hand of Ghosts, which basically, as it starts out, she can dispel ghosts. And it's deemed to be a shit power. and her mother is a psycho from hell who has her power is the hand of nightmares. She can make nightmares become real, and dark, twisted, funny, fantastically compelling.
I'm gonna have to get used to all my promotion for it. Like when I have a book out, I'm just like, hey, I wrote a thing. You probably shouldn't. Like I don't want to. Let's not talk about it. Forget it.
Well, I told you when Hand of Fate comes out, we're going to do an episode where we discuss it in depth without spoilers. In terms of the concept, it's just fantastic. I really can't wait for that to come out. So yeah, that's some up and coming stuff for the show. And we have a cat.
Yeah, I think it's dinner time.
Yeah. On that note, we've been going for a good couple of hours, so I think we'll start wrapping things up here. It's been a nice meandering through topics here, starting off with some discussions of lockdown, mental health, and bleeding into politics, and then into shark films of all things and gaming. So, very true to our name of Protein Ramblings, I think. And it's been a pleasure having you on again, Ben. Hopefully you'll be open to coming on again in the future.
Please invite me on anytime. I can't guarantee I'll know anything about the topics you're talking about, but I'm happy to wait.
That's not really a requirement, to be honest.
To be fair, one of the reasons I like having you on is you're generally a very well-informed person. So
unlike me, I'm looking clueless.
Yeah.
Bungle adds flavour.
Does he add custard flavour?
That's smoked custard,
Pretty much.
I had one thing to say that I thought of when Bungle was talking about custard earlier. I was having a very middle class argument with some friends the other day about what quiche is and what defines a quiche.
Yes.
And so we obviously went to the Wikipedia article, and apparently in order for it to be a quiche, you have to make, obviously it has pastry, but then the only other requirement really is that it's made from a savory custard.
Yes.
I just found that phrase kind of weird and disgusting.
If you think about savory custard, it sounds grim, right? You wouldn't. If somebody was like, have some savory custard, you'd say no.
It's the perfect description of what the eggy stuff is in there.
It just sounded weird to me, and it sounded weird.
I feel like there should be another name for it.
But also, it's very euphemistic. So
it should be. In fact, we should start a movement to change the name from quiches to a savory custard tart.
Oh no, that's just ruin it for me, man.
Talking of baking, before we go, actually, so obviously over here, I miss a lot of British food, and one of the things that I miss a lot is, it's not high class food, but I miss a good Greggs, and I've made my own Greggs steak bakes.
I saw that. Yeah, it's very impressive.
They were great.
Yeah, I also made some pulled pork steak bakes, which were fucking phenomenal. Yeah, so I've started baking because.
Well, after this, I'm going to be attempting my first ever proper cake since secondary school, which is I'm making a kladdkaka, which is a Swedish brownie cake, basically. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that comes out.
Nice.
The name doesn't sound very appetizing, but I hope
kladdkaka.
Obviously I make cheesecakes on a semi-regular basis. I'm due to make another one soon, I think. But we've been starting to get these because supermarkets here are fucking. I rail about this on I think every fucking show that we do. But supermarkets in the Netherlands are fucking shit. I miss Tesco's. It's really hard to get high quality produce, especially when it comes to meats and things like that. So we've started, because I think it exists in a lot of countries, HelloFresh.
Oh, yeah.
So we've started getting HelloFresh for the last couple of weeks now, and that's been fantastic. That's been really, really cool. Tonight, the thing that I'm making is a chicken pot pie, effectively.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Anything with pastry, it's the northerner in me. Just give me pastry all the time. And that's the other thing. I love fish and chips, and you can get great battered fish here and great chips here, but you can't get the two in the same place.
What?
So you can go and get kibbling, which is basically fish from a chippy. But it's like small cod bites, battered and deep fried, and it's amazing. And then you can get great Flemish fries from but all they said the shops only sell fries. So you have to go and get your kibbling from one shop, your chips from another shop, and then you have to go to a special British shop to get gravy because gravy doesn't exist here.
What?
Yeah, you can't find Bisto for shit.
No, you have to go to like a particular like expat stores for stuff, and malt vinegar as well. They don't seem to
Yeah,
have.
vinegar doesn't exist, and like salt and vinegar crisps aren't really a thing outside of Pringles. The flavors of crisps here are paprika, and ready salted.
Oh, hold on though, because when I went to Belgium, one of the things I always get when I go to Belgium is pickle crisps.
Oh yeah, they have pickle here, but it's weak sauce. It's not sharp.
Is it?
Yeah, it's bullshit. And they only do it in Lay's or Walkers, and it's bollocks. So if you want decent pickle crisp, you have to go and get Monster Munch or something from the British expat shop.
Okay. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, it's like crisp selection here. Like the one Albert Heijn, our local shop, does Tyrell's, and they do a good black truffle and a good. They do have Tyrell salt and vinegar, which isn't as sharp as I'd like it, because Co-op's truly irresistible Chardonnay vinegar and salt, sharpest motherfucking salt and vinegar. They make your mouth hurt after a full bag.
Yeah, they're good if they make your mouth hurt a bit.
Yeah, and that's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I miss. But yeah, it's a real problem here trying to get good food, and I literally don't think since we've moved here there's not been a show where I haven't bitched about that.
I think it's kind of your thing.
It really bothers me. I miss fucking Chop House, and that kind of food, like good hearty British fare, like a suet pudding.
Well, don't we all, mate? Don't we all?
Wow, yeah. True. Right now, everyone does. I mean, it's weird as well because we do have like a lot of good restaurants. I mean, we've got fantastic Japanese restaurants. We actually have a good proper izakaya style restaurant here, which when you guys come over, I'll have to take you to, and I have to take you guys to Lars as well because you guys would fucking love Lars. But yeah, there is so much good food here. It's ridiculous. Just not to buy and take home. But yes, so anyway, that was just another last tangent to slip into.
Now that we've got the supermarket rant.
Yeah, I couldn't let the supermarket rant not happen this episode. But yeah, so hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Once again, just a quick reminder. Go check out easypeasycbd.co.uk for all your CBD needs. The code RAMBLING will get you 40% off your order. And we will be back in the not too distant future with another episode. I'm not sure what's the next one on the agenda.
Wayland Yutani versus Umbrella.
Well, yeah, that might be the next thing they do. It might be a Wayland Yutani versus Umbrella episode. We'll have to do our research on that and actually look into some corporate statistics or fictional corporate statistics that exist, and length of company, like when was Wayland Yutani founded versus Umbrella and so on. But also you've got the horror film rundown to look forward to that we're working on, and there'll be some more wrestling bollocks as well coming up. Especially given everything that's happening, I think we might have to do an episode about the
like an emergency cast.
We might have to do an episode about the New Japan AEW working relationship that's now happening. So, yeah, you can look forward to that. I'll probably get Nat and Tiga back on for that. But until we're back next time, hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll love you and leave you. Hope everybody stays safe out there. And once again, thank you for joining us, Ben. And lovely to have you back, Bungle.
Yeah, nice to be back.
And yeah, it's been fun. So for now, everyone, stay safe. And we will catch you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.